in the government and Export-Import Bank. We're going to have much more tonight on World News Tonight with David Muir. Have a good day.
This has been a special report from ABC News.
Hi, everyone. Amna Nawaz here live in New York. Continuing coverage here of the breaking news. White House Communications Director Anthony Scaramucci is out, having tendered his resignation to the newly appointed White House Chief of Staff, General John Kelly, earlier today. This just 10 days after Scaramucci was first appointed by President Trump. In an announcement, we'll go over all the details right here and try to break down exactly what happened. ABC News' political director Rick Klein joins me live now from Washington, D.C. Rick, there's been a lot of turnover in the White House, it's fair to say, but 10 days might just be a new record.
This is got to be a record for a communications director. Of course, we remember that briefing where he was brought on to all that fanfare. That was about 10 days ago. And what's striking here is that in the course of that time, you got rid of the White House press secretary in Sean Spicer. You got rid of then the White House chief of staff in Reince Priebus. And now Scaramucci. The only thing that's moving here really is Donald Trump, and he is the one that's behind all of these moves. That's the only sign of any consistency in this. Today was the day that things were supposed to be back to normal at the White House, so we'll see if it starts tomorrow instead. But this seems to be a consolidation of power with the new chief of staff, General Kelly, and also a statement by the president. There were a lot of voices that were in his ear saying that Scaramucci was a mistake, that his profile was too high. We remember that interview he gave last week to the New Yorker. That may have sealed it, but this is all record timing to be in and out again.
Record timing, to say the least. Let's bring in our colleague Cecilia Vega, senior White House correspondent. Cecilia, Rick mentioned that interview back on July 26th. That was just 5 days after Mr. Scaramucci was given his new role. Is that what changed things? What exactly happened inside the White House there?
You know, anybody's guess is as good as mine, Amna, at this point. I got to tell you, the reporters here at this White House have a case of whiplash. The staffers inside this White House have a case of whiplash. And I would venture to guess that John Kelly, the new chief of staff, on day one probably has a case of whiplash too. We don't know if this is coming from President Trump himself. We don't know if this was a condition that John Kelly laid out in terms of agreeing to take this job. This is all just coming in right now. And I will tell you, just the mood here at this White House, I would venture to say a lot of people don't even know that this has happened yet. I was just back trying to talk to Sean Spicer and Sarah Sanders in the West Wing. Sean Spicer's still here. His last day has not yet happened. And you know, they're in a closed door meeting prepping for the briefing today. So it remains to be seen how far and wide this news has spread. You know, you mentioned that tirade-laced interview that Scaramucci gave to the New Yorker. You know, he hasn't apologized for that. That could very well be a point of contention for this president. It certainly made a lot of headlines and was an unwelcome distraction. But, you know, the president started this day saying that this was a White House that is not in chaos, refuting that assertion. That is absolutely not the case. This is a White House that is embroiled, enveloped in chaos right now. He's hoping for a reset by this new chief of staff. It remains to be seen whether, now that Anthony Scaramucci is out, that perhaps a more calm might come to this West Wing, Amna.
Yeah, not only did he not apologize for that interview, in which he used, as you mentioned, a lot of expletives, invoking some very disturbing visual images there. Rick Klein, he also basically said, look, I use colorful language sometimes, kind of hinting that people could expect this sort of thing from him in the future. But Rick, Cecilia mentioned there, John Kelly has just stepped into his role today. He's got no White House communications director, no newly sort of appointed White House press secretary. Sarah Sanders was stepped up after Sean Spicer left. How does this White House move forward right now?
Well, I think, as Cecilia mentioned, there's a lot of questions about why this is happening at this precise moment. And I don't think it's a mistake that John Kelly was just sworn in a few hours ago. He had that first cabinet meeting. We remember Scaramucci a week and a half ago when he was named to this post. He appeared at the podium and he said that he was reporting directly to the president, around who he said was his friend, Reince Priebus, the chief of staff. You can imagine that would not be an arrangement that John Kelly would be very comfortable with. He's got a military command background and he's coming in fresh to this job. He knows about what held back Reince Priebus in this post. So you can imagine that he would want to have clear lines of authority. Again, not clear if that was a condition of his hiring or if he demanded this or if Scaramucci saw the writing on the wall given the other things that surrounded this. We do know that Scaramucci's hiring was President Trump's decision directly. So accepting a resignation and or a firing, that would have to be driven by the president as well as he puts in a new command structure. So this may actually be part of General Kelly, now as Chief of Staff Kelly, trying to impose his own set of working relationships and order on this chaotic White House. But as Cecilia said, in the short term, to lose this many senior staffers in this short a period of time is unprecedented.
Well, Cecilia, part of this is about the command structure. A huge part of this is about messaging. Scaramucci was brought in to lead the messaging team. This is something you navigate every day there, right there at the White House. How do things move forward with this president now when it comes to messaging, particularly given his propensity to just want to handle his own?
Well, in some ways, this has been the problem for this White House that has plagued this administration, I would say from day one, but Amna, it stretches even past that. On the other hand, many in this administration would say that this is the ticket to Donald Trump's success. The reason that he is in the White House is because he is his own messenger and has circumvented all of that tradition leading up to this. The advice that Scaramucci was getting coming into this job was from Corey Lewandowski and others who are very close in Donald Trump's circle, is to let President Trump be President Trump. In some ways, perhaps that backfired because Scaramucci came in bigger than President Trump in his own ways and received an even bigger spotlight on a number of days than the boss himself. And as all of us who cover this administration knows, that is the one-way ticket out of this White House, is to outshine and overshadow Donald Trump. So I don't know that that's the reason, but I would imagine that could have played a role in this.
A lot more reporting to come on that. Thank you, Cecilia Vegar, senior White House correspondent, live for us there at the White House. Rick Klein, I'm going over a timeline right here. It's a little sort of mind-blowing to look back and just see the turnover that has happened in very senior positions, going all the way back to the president's national security advisor, the FBI director, the White House communications director, before Sean Spicer kind of started doing the job along with his press secretary role, then the chief of staff. I mean, I guess people will look at the White House and just wonder what role is not up for potential turnover.
The family, in short. And I think it's important to remember that there are different circles of influence in the Trump White House, and they are competing for influence always. And you have the family circle, you have the Trump loyalist circle, which Scaramucci would be part of. Then you have the kind of professional circle that I would think you would have to put General Kelly closer to, people that are adopters of the Trump ideology later on. President Trump is not particularly enamored of either of the latter two groups, and family is its own thing. But you see in these staff changes that no one is safe from a president who's used to, frankly, being able to fire people. He gets frustrated with slights, perceived or real. He has very little patience, very little tolerance, even to people that have shown immense amounts of loyalty, like Jeff Sessions, his